would be a little different.
I got a good.
All right, welcome and thank you for attending our webinar today. My name is Ashley Limbers and I'm the marketing lead at Encompass Solutions. At Encompass, we specialize in ERP consulting and implementation to help manufacturers like you solve challenges, automate operations, and drive growth. And as a premier partner of Epicor, we deliver tailored ERP solutions that empower businesses to succeed. Dan, if you can transition the slide. We are headquartered in North Carolina and have been in business for over 24 years with just over 40 staff members around the globe. And our focus is on manufacturing and distribution, primarily using Epicor software. So one characteristic that makes Encompass Solutions stands out is we're very partner focused. We have 20 years of experience selling Epicor software while being part of the Premier Partner Program. And we have a certified team of consultants that partners with businesses like yours to help with ERP implementations, software enhancements, customizations, and web reporting. And today we are exploring SSRS reportings presented by Dan Satlow. Just a few things before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded and a copy of the recording will be emailed to you. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please be sure to type those into the question box in your Zoom control panel. And we'll bring them up during our Q&A session at the end. And we also encourage you to take the survey after today's event. Our speaker today, Dan, is an EDI solutions architect here at Encompass. Dan's recent professional IT experience also includes 6 years in the aerospace manufacturing sector, working extensively in .NET development and SQL Server, Epicor ERP customizations and reporting, including SSRS. In addition to his primary role in EDI engagements, Dan actively contributes to client projects involving SSRS reporting alongside other members of our technical team. Dan recently made North Carolina his new home after relocating from San Diego and is currently enjoying adventures with his newly adopted son here in the state. So now, without further ado, we'll go ahead and turn over the time to Dan. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ashley, for the warm welcome and introduction. I'm excited to be presenting this topic of SSRS and its Epicor tie-ins on behalf of Encompass. You might not have otherwise made that assumption given the adjectives that are listed on the screen. These are common adjectives I hear that people say in regards to ERP reporting. One is that it is extremely time consuming. I can attest to that. It is an extremely time consuming process to learn these niche vendor specific reporting platforms and how they tie into specific ERP systems such as Epicor. Tedious. I can assert that it is a very tedious process as well. Tricky. I can also assert that it is a very tricky process to learn all the quirks, all the vendor-specific tie-ins. Overwhelming. I've certainly been there when I needed to implement a new feature or visual into or port a new calculation. There is certainly a lot of things to keep in mind. It takes months to establish a good working knowledge of all the specifics. Archaic. ERP has been around for decades, and so has the reporting platforms. So a lot of the screens, they're not the most user-friendly or intuitive. Not glamorous. Certainly, it's not thought of as glamorous by a lot of people, but there's a group of us at Encompass that we work on these ERP reports, and we do find that glamorous because the way we think about them is we're enabling businesses to win using technical tools such as ERP reporting tools, and they're there for a reason. Another thing, SSRS, from my experience, is one of the best ERP reporting platforms there. It's one of the best reporting tools if you have an ERP. I've also worked with Crystal Reports, one from Cold Fusion, a few from OpenText and Enform, and SSRS is my personal favorite one. There is one misconception about SSRS and other reporting tools that's out there. It's that SSRS and reporting tools, ERP reporting tools, those are outdated and those are on their way out, on their way to being replaced by business intelligence tools, BI tools, cloud AI tools, such as Power BI, that's a Microsoft platform, or Epicor Grow, that's a business intelligence offering by Epicor, which we can also help with. Encompass can also help you with that. But that's not true because reporting tools and BI tools, those are two separate categories of tools. And those go hand in hand for helping a business achieve wins and gather insights. A business intelligence tool, that business win is going to be for executive decision making, something that goes on in your boardroom or among your management team or somebody on the shop floor trying to explore their data and how their business works, trends in real time, something like a dashboard, something where you can interact with your data and gather insights from your data, trends in real time. A reporting tool such as SSRS, that business win is going to be having correct and consistent report outputs, correct and consistent outputs. These are things you need: pixel perfect formats, perfect report calculations, standard and repeatable report calculations every single time, unless you go in and manually change that, which we're going to walk through doing. SSRS is relevant, especially in the Epicor space, because SSRS has been Epicor's default reporting tie-in for all recent versions since Epicor 10, which is almost 10 years ago. And for all foreseeable versions, Cloud, Kinetic, it will remain the default reporting tie-in. On the agenda for today is a demo, and it's to address a business objective, which is to increase cash flow, increase profits through reducing our age receivables percent. And we're going to do this through working with an AR invoice report. We're going to be walking you through that and how we use the advanced printing and routing module within Epicor to achieve that. And this is also going to be a Q&A driven webinar. So you can drop, anytime you have a question throughout this demo or webinar, you can drop it in the chat, and we're going to have a few Q&A questions as part of this webinar. Actually, I think we have a poll question.
Yes, we do have a poll question. So if you would go ahead and answer this. What is your main reason for attending today's webinar? Are you looking for ways to visualize and enhance your current reports? Are you wanting to reduce time spent customizing reports for your business needs? Maybe you're struggling with inaccurate, slow, or inefficient reports. You could be interested in improving or fully overhauling your existing SSRS reports. Interested in improving your business cash flow through AR automation, and maybe you're new to Epicor SSRS and you're interested in learning more. So we'll wait a few more seconds for you to take that, and then Dan will go over the responses here. You give you about 10 more seconds. All right, so let's go ahead and share these results. All right, Dan, do you want to go ahead and go over what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so what I see is the top response is looking for ways to visualize and enhance our current reports. 43% of you chose that answer. And also tied for number one now is new to SSRS and interested in learning more. So those are the top two responses. And number 3 was reduce time spent customizing reports for our business need. And these numbers change in real time. So that number is now at 23%. I know that doesn't add up to 100%, but the numbers change in real time as people vote.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on.
Okay, so a primer for the demo we're about to be navigating through. Our business objective is to reduce age receivables, increase our cash flow, increase the amount of cash we have on hand. And we're going to be doing this through the advanced printing and routing functionality module within Epicor. And what the advanced printing routing module does is it takes a result set of a report, and then it breaks that report by page into separate data sets based on what we decide is a break criteria. In this case, a customer ID. Then it's going to group by the customer ID, look for a overdue invoice. And if there's an email associated with that invoice, it's going to email that invoice to the customer's billing contact that has an overdue invoice. And we can schedule that, let's say Sunday nights. So when Monday morning, when the office staff comes in at the overdue customer, it's at the top of their email inbox, and that increases the chance of that overdue invoice getting paid. This is a consistent, friendly follow-up. We can customize the email to whatever we like, and the end result is we eliminate cumbersome tasks and keeping track of things and potential for human error. We can just automate it. This is the next best thing to an EDI invoice, something we call in the EDI world as the X12810. So without further ado, we're going to get started with this demo. Sure, wrong stream. It's going to be 1 second. So if there's one report or functionality that almost every finance team would wish they have, but might never quite get around to building, it's probably this one. And it's not just a report per se. It's not just an SSRS report built into Epicor. It's a system. It's a system that quietly and reliably improves your cash flow. And once a week, as we were going over, this report runs and automatically generates a PDF. So right now you're seeing my email inbox, and this email you're seeing was generated from our demo instance of Epicor, the one we have internally at Encompass. So it generates a big list of overdue invoices, splits them up, and sends them to the billing contact. I'm going to pretend I'm a billing contact at a customer, and it's going to email it directly to me, the overdue collection of invoices, this overdue invoice report. Now, this data is a little wacky. It's our demo environment in Epicor. So this is all test data. And this is a list of invoices. So I'm a billing contact. I can see I got to pay Encompass all this money for the services they provide us, all their great ERP services. So if I'm overdue, it increases the chance of me paying your company. So no one on your team needs to remember, no one has to click anything. This report was built entirely within Epicor and SSRS with no third-party add-on. And I'm going to show you some of the features within Epicor that go into building this. So what you're seeing now is our demo server. And this is the screen that kicks off this report. So what I'm going to first demo is generating the entire data set of overdue invoices. This is the list of overdue invoices we have at a manufacturing company. And this is the data set that's going to be split up and sent to the customer's billing contacts. Now, with this routing feature, What this is going to do is it's actually going to break off those invoices and send them to the billing contacts. I'm going to print this again. What you're seeing here is routing is enabled. Do you want to execute the routing actions? Now this is a warning saying, hey, look, you're gonna send this report out to a whole bunch of email addresses. So just want to make sure you're comfortable with that. And we're going to say yes. And now I'm going to switch back to my email screen, and we're going to wait for that invoice to come through with that report of overdue invoices that we have. As you see, I'm the billing contact of 2 companies, so I'm just going to open it up. I have my list of invoices that I need to pay. Go share our demo server again. And what we can do now is we can put that on a schedule. So in Epicor, which I'm going to show you, we can configure schedules through what we call the system agent, which I'm also going to show you. And I created this schedule, weekly Sunday PM evening overdue invoices. This is just 8 PM on Sunday evenings. And we're going to check the recurring checkbox. Print it again. We're comfortable with the routing. Yes, this is what we want to do. Hit yes. And what this does is on 8 PM Sunday evenings, this is going to repeat every Sunday evening indefinitely. So nobody has to remember anything. It's totally in the background. So this report data set. This was generated what we call a BAQ report. And if you're familiar with Epicor, you may know that BAQs are a central core component of Epicor. BAQs can be used for any variety of different things, from API calls to data sets, dashboards, reports such as this one, search and menu items. It's a big topic in the SSRS world. And we're going to have our own webinar specific to BAQs and BAQ reports coming up next month. BAQs is a very big topic in Epicor. I'm going to show you the BAQ, the business activity query that was used to generate this report. We can show you a little bit about the BAQ functionality. Wow. There's a few business activity queries. Excuse me, I might have selected the wrong one. Check off the shared checkbox. There we go. So this is the business activity query. It looks like a SQL statement, while the joins and the where clauses and the selection fields. But this is actually not a wheel query. It's a lot runs in the backgrounds in Epicor. It's a very Epicor concept. So in the query builder, we can build queries for a data set, such as the report we used, all from within Epicor. These are all of our data sources, tables, joins, table criteria, and display fields. BAQs can be used for, as I was saying, many different things. BAQs is a very in detail topic. We have a webinar about BAQs coming up, which you can ask questions about. And one of the features is a report style. And we can look behind the scenes of how that report was generated using report styles. So this BAQ, it was used to make 3 report styles. This attached to a report style is an SSRS breaking and routing diagram. This is where we configure the behavior of how the report set, that big report set I showed you, gets broken out and split out and sent to the email addresses. As you can see, it's a graphical workflow. It's very easy to set up for your internal team or Encompass if you work with us. And it avoids the need for any third-party add-ons or external systems. Some systems I've worked with are homegrown, and they're very expensive to program and maintain and keep modern. But with a tool such as advanced printing and routing, it's valid on premises or in the cloud across migrations. These can be imported and exported. So these remain current and relevant. Another thing that goes into setting the report is what we call the system agent. This is where we configure the schedules, and the system agent, it runs in the background and kicks off the reports or any other tasks, such as our recurring tasks that we just set up. As you can see right here, the past due invoices task. Now, what we did with the report we sent out, another thing we're going to show you is a system monitor. The system monitor runs in the background to handle all the system agent tasks. And this is the task that just completed, history tasks. In the report details section, what we're looking for, we're going to get a value, what we call the GUID. And this is for illustration purposes. You go to SSMS, this is our database management platform. And we can see what we created when we kicked off that report. What that BAQ did was it created a data set in a report, which our report style bases data off of. Those are in tables called BAQ report result. And you see this is our data set for the overdue invoices report. So as you can see here, everything is managed within Epicor. There's no real need for external systems. It's a very streamlined platform. One thing you'll need to know to keep in mind is you'll need to check your license for advanced printing and routing if you want to use this feature. So you can do this by going to company configuration. What's really helpful in company configuration key feature is the license listing. Sort by module name. And you'll know if you're able to use this in your Epicor environment if you go to the advanced printing module name. You should see this licensed and enabled. And if you don't have that, you'll either need to get in touch with Epicor or an Epicor partner to go through the process of getting the advanced printing module license. Final thing I'd like to show you for this is the report style. I see a lot of you are you're new to SSRS or Epicor and you're looking to learn more about products and features, or just looking to visualize and enhance your current reports. Those are the top 2 selections in the poll. So I'm going to show you the report builder. Go back to report style. You can see our style selections here and the report definition and print program. we're going to download the SSRS report, the report data definition, so I can show you what that looks like in SSRS Report Builder. That's going to be on our desktop. So this is the report builder. This is what we call the RDL, the report data definition. And this is where we go in and actually change the visuals of our report, if you're familiar and wanting to learn more. Now, this is not a webinar specific to the internals of Report Builder. If you are looking for that, I can point you in the right direction. So if you're most interested in the visuals of SSRS, there is a resource called Wise Owl Tutorials on YouTube. This is personally where I learned the internals of SSRS. And the narrator has a beautiful British voice, and they have hundreds and hundreds of SSRS configuration videos, very elegantly explained. I personally do know the SSRS interface inside and out. So although this webinar is not meant to go into the specifics of SSRS, we're going to do a simple change after this. You can drop a question in the Q&A chat anytime, and I can answer it time allowing at the ending portion of the webinar. So there is one feedback I would like to mention from a customer that has used the AR Invoice reporting tools. It's that the emailed invoices, and this is a quote, direct quote from a financial controller, the emailed invoices are the best thing ever, and past due notices are good, especially when a customer doesn't have all the invoices in the statement. So sometimes the customer doesn't pay because they lost the invoice or lost track of something. In this case, that avoids that. So the answer is yes, I've seen improvements. That's a quote from one of our customers that we put this in place for. So good feedback from the financials team, helping to increase the cash flow. So at this point, I just want to pause and maybe I can ask Ashley if there are any questions in the chat.
Yeah, so we do have
could
a
answer.
question. Yeah, we have a couple actually. So what are some of the quirks or shortcomings you have observed with the SSRS report builder?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and foremost, there is no preview data feature in SSRS. So if I were to run this report without having an already configured data set, for example, we have an expression field here for date, it wouldn't populate that with test data. So that's one lacking of SSRS that can be worked around. Another one is in the header and footer. The header and footer only accept aggregate level data. So if you have multiple invoices being sent out, there's just little workarounds you have to keep in mind when you have multiple reports from a single data set, which we're familiar with working around, but it is a few things to work around. And there's also a bug if you have multiple 2D matrices. So I know the SSRS support the SSRS system so well that I even know where the bugs are. So, and there's just little quirks around the screens that you just need to keep in mind. For example, data source, if you're trying to coordinate your report between production and pilot, doing some DevOps things, there's no, if you had multiple data sets here, you want to switch between them. There's no button that says, oh, you've changed the data set. You have to double click here, hit OK, and verify, go back in. It's just something that's good to keep in mind, but that's just always something to keep in mind. It's not immediately intuitive, but that is what we did when we switched between the data source. For example, if it was like a production and a pilot.
Speaking of keeping in mind, what should I keep in mind when working on SSRS reports for Epicor?
Yeah, so one is patience. Another is tenacity in trying to take new approaches and things, new strategies, not not losing faith that, okay, it didn't work the first time. Okay, I'm going to try it again and try it again. And also attention to detail, because the finishing details, for example, let's say we want this statement date in a very, very particular spot. Sometimes it takes a few iterations to really get that placement right. So SSRS reports and reporting by nature, it is time consuming. So patience, tenacity, and attention to detail. And also asking questions and knowing your data, all the edge cases that can come out of all the possible edge cases that can manifest itself correctly or incorrectly on your report. So asking questions about your data too, curiosity.
Those are some good things to keep in mind for sure. When would you need to use a sub-report and for what use case purpose example?
Okay, so this report does not have any sub-reports, but there is another part of the demo I can show you with that will have sub-reports. We can start going over to that if there is no more questions.
So
if there is questions, then bring them on.
Yeah. So how do you see what is in EXPR and modify that? So it's the arrows, EXPR. Yeah.
You can either double click. This is one of the little nuances. You can double click to highlight it directly on the EXPR, and then you can go into expression. And in this case, it's today. It's just the Microsoft variable, like Microsoft function. And yeah, so the audience member might have been asking, oh, if I click on this entire rectangle, the expression's grayed out, but it's just one of the little nuances. Double click the expression until it turns blue, and then you can go into the expression. That's a good question.
Okay, next question. What is the programming language used in field expressions when Googling for examples online?
Yeah, it's VB script. I believe it's VB script, but there's so what I think the asker is asking is there's a place called common functions, and there's things like date value, date string, date serial. I'm not a VB script expert. I can kind of just poke my way around the scripting language in SSRS. Not a VB script expert per se, but it's something along with one of the VB Microsoft languages. And this interface here, this is very helpful as well. Navigating through the category tree. There's good examples and descriptions of all the functions.
We did have someone ask for the YouTube link for SSR report learning, so we are going to provide that in the follow-up email. So be on the lookout for that. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions for Dan, please type those into the question box, and we'll continue to monitor that as he shows the next sub-report.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I'll close this report out, and then we're going to switch over to the next example, which will include sub-reports. So we're going to go, this is also an AR Invoice report, and this is a common inquiry that we've seen from customers. And once that loads, I'll get into it. So in Epicor, we're an AR invoice tracker. And most trackers or input forms, they are associated with what's called a report program. And the report program does it kicks off the instructions for Epicor to create the report based on what you instruct the report program, which report style you want the report program to use. And you won't see all these in your environment. what you will see is one that's called standard-SSRS. And this is Epicor's default report style, the ones that all the forms ship with. And we're going to print the standard report style for this invoice. Wait for that to generate. And if it doesn't generate quickly, have it all pulled up. So this is what the default Epicor invoice looks like. As you can see, it's not the crispest, it's not the cleanest, it's not the most visually appealing. But these report styles, these were meant to be changed and worked on and made more visually appealing and adapt and suited and tailor-made to your business needs, your business programming. So this is an invoice, and one of the common requests we get in Encompass is to add in what we call, under the ship to contact, a phone number. Now, if you're familiar with Epicor or manufacturing processes in general, there's many phone numbers that could be associated with an invoice. So for example, the invoice going to the customer could have a main phone number. The customer could have a ship to phone number, for example, for their warehouses. If they have multiple warehouses across the country, across the globe, where the product is shipped to could go to any one of those warehouses, and we need a customer phone number contact at that shipping location to call. Or it could come from the order head, which the sales order that the invoice is associated with. So there's 3 of those, and possibly if all those fail, we'd list the phone number of the sales rep. But this is not programmed into the default report style as Epicor ships it with. So therefore, somebody needs to program that in and go through the testing. And this is what we can help a customer with, putting the appropriate ship to here. And we can go to the report style that we made that does include this and print that. As we made this report style, which does include the phone number. Now, the ship to phone number could come from any number of sources. So it could come from the order head, the sales order head, which was not applicable in this case. However, the ship to phone number was applicable. So therefore, this phone number got put on the report. It must have been for, okay, door 2 of MLK Boulevard. There could have been a door 3. It was delivered to a building for door 5. We need a shipping phone number. And without wanting to fall back to the main customer phone number, which might not be the best phone number to call. So for example, we have a customer that can ship product they work with an external sales team, which is a customer in their Epicor. That customer in Epicor has a phone number, which is in one table, as a ship to phone number for any given ship to warehouses around the globe, or it's specific to the order. So we want to prefer the most specific, whatever the most specific one is available. I can show you a little bit more what the process is to do that. So when the customer reached out with this inquiry, what Encompass did was it launched a discovery phase. Encompass went through their SQL data, their Epicor data, and determined how the customer was discovered how the customer was going about their orders and their inventory and shipping processes, and put forward this logic to the customer, which we agreed was the best way to approach programming this report. It's one thing to program that's just our support. It's another thing to program it to the customer's business needs. So we're going to go back into System Monitor, which keeps track of all the reports that print. Go to History Tasks, our log. I'm going to give it a little refresh. This is the report we just printed. And a helpful trick to find, what we're going to do now is find the report program that was used to print it. So we're going to go by the description field, as you can see, AR Invoice Form. And we're also going to copy what we call the GUID, as you've seen before, to see if you can see that in SSRS, our database management platform. Clear this, clear the previous one. Start over. Search it. We're going to sort by the description. Go to AR Invoice Form. It's just a little trick. And the report program we can see is AR Form. It's associated with a number of styles. You can see that in the style list. And we're going to download the report style that the changes are incorporated to. I'm going to show you a little bit in SSRS how we went about that. First, we're going to notice what we call the report data definition. And when a report program fires off, it builds a data set through the report data definition. And this is also a very important Epicor concept. We're going to take a look at report data definitions real quick. So the report data definition is, it builds the data set that our SSRS report is going to base its visuals off. Let's base all of its layout, calculations, and graphics from. And there's three key components of a report data definition. One is the data source tables, which you can see all listed here. One is the relationships. And these are equivalent to SQL Server joins. So you don't necessarily have to rely on SQL Server joins and whatnot to build your report. It's going to be outported to a report database in the background. And what I think is a quirk that, which makes this the most important one to keep in mind, is what we call the exclusions. So what Epicor does, it excludes all of the data in a table by default that goes into a report database. So every time you add a column, you have to undo the exclude. So for example, with the original data set does not include the information such as phone number and order head or the ship to, such as if we're shipping it to a warehouse. So we have to go in to, let's say, the order head, go into the exclusions and undo the phone number exclusion. There's a lot of fields. Get my alphabetical order correct. Oh, it's under OTS phone number. Yeah, there's a field called OTS phone number in the report data definition. Yeah, sometimes it's under phone number, OTS phone numbers. Epicor expertise is good to have here in this particular situation. So exclusions, data sets, and reports, and report data source tables. Open back up with we're going to download the report data set, report data, the RDL file, download SSRS support, put it in our desktop. We got a little error here. Okay, we had a little error here, but I have it pulled up in the background. But this is what the report data, the RDL file looks like. not the most elegant, and there's a lot of nuance going on here, but what we did is we expanded this row, expand the size, and in the format of the email address below, we added a phone number with a phone number field. And we also edited the dataset properties, the expression, also known as the query, fits in the query box. And this is what the query looks like in the report builder. So if we go into SSMS, paste that in, as you can see, a lot of fields, a lot going on here. And what we can see here is the joins. So Epicor generated the report data definition. And then in SSRS, kind of as a secondary layer, you can manipulate that report data definition, which you can see it'll look similar to this one, joins on itself. And what we see here is the GUID value. This is what we would pull from the system monitor, that big string value. This is what the query looks like. And the two items we added in the report data definition, this is what I added. And then the coalesce, there's a coalesce feature, so it goes from most specific to least specific. It first favors the order phone number, then the ship to phone number, and the phone number of the customer. And there's a null if in case somebody put a blank space, and then it would turn into null and then coalesce on the next one. That's so if it was just a simple blank space, it wouldn't show a blank field if, let's say, it was on the order. And we named that field ship to phone. And then what we did was we added that ship to phone value to the list of fields. And we do that in this screen, ship to phone, and hit OK. Then we uploaded it back to Epicor. And that's what you see through the report. Through the report style, we uploaded it back to Epicor. And that's what you see in when you print the AR invoice. Through your AR invoice tracker. And this is how we get our ship to phone number. So the one-time ship phone number was not applicable. The ship to phone number, let's say it was a warehouse, was applicable. So was the customer, but we chose the most specific one that was payable, this 555-5678 number. So that's how we go about a request such as this. And this request took me probably about 2.5 hours of nuance and backtracking and error handling, error facilitating. So even with my exposure to SSRS and Epicor, it took me about 2.5 hours straight of adding that phone number field. So again, I was saying patience is a virtue when it comes to working with SSRS.
Dan, if you have time, we have another question.
Yeah, I'm all done with this demo, so I'm glad to answer some more questions.
Okay, great. So the question is, we write most of our reports in SSRS outside of Epicor, but based on our Epicor data, we do this mainly because our queries are far too complex for a BAQ. I never thought about it before, but can I call a stored procedure from a SSRS report within Epicor and use it as my data source?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go into one of the data sets, which you can see what AR form is one of our data sets that we can manipulate, we can base our report off of. There is an option called stored procedure, and you'll need to log in. And yes, there will be a wizard to select your stored procedure name. And there's one caveat to keep in mind here. There's only the SSRS will only take the first result set from that stored procedure, but that is certainly an option. And I've done that many times before.
Okay, and how did you get to that SQL coding? There seems to be something that's been missed that wording.
Yep. So that can mean a few things. If you go to the data set, double click on any of the data sets, there's a query field, and then you can go to this function, this FX icon. And then copy this. And you can copy this into SSMS, which is free to download, or any other text editor or whatnot. And that's how we got to the SQL. And if you're asking how you can run this from SQL, so what you'll need is the GUID value that you can get from the system monitor, which will be this value. And you can get, that's under the report detail section. You have to make sure you select whichever task you run it from, select the task that ran, then click the report detail. It's just one of those nuances. Copy this value, and you have to do it through Control-C. You can't do it through right-click, copy-paste. Then what you would want to do is do a find and replace, with the GUID being the replace value. I lost it. I didn't do it right. And then what you want to replace in the text to replace is any of these values just find one of these values in between the quotes, like the parameters, exclamation point, table GUID, include quotes, find and replace all. And if I did everything right, there's probably still something I'm missing, but then you could run this query. But for the sake of time, that's generally how you go about that.
And what if that portion is grayed out or not present in their version of the report builder?
I'm going to try to find what is being referenced. If you put, to who asked that question, if you just maybe want to elaborate more, where you've seen that. They could be referring to this, this EXPR. That would be my first guess. I've never clicked on that. I've always gone through the FX. Query Designer I see as grayed out, but I've never used that admittedly. But if I could get more context, I'd be happy to look into that.
I think that's all the questions that we have right now. But just a reminder, if you do have any, we'd love to answer those. You can go ahead and type them in the Q&A. Okay, I think this is, I only see general, not all the query portion.
You see general, not all.
I only see general, not all the query portion. We can also help you on the side. If you want to send us an email, we would love to walk through this with you to figure out maybe why it's grayed out. But for the sake of time, Dan, do we want to continue with our presentation? And then
yeah, absolutely.
We have one more question, then we'll move on. And then if you have any other questions, just contact us because we would love to help you answer those. Can you highlight a field based on a conditional logic?
Yes. So it will be in one of these options. So for example, let's say I want to highlight the phone fields. There is probably a highlight option here or a background color. I don't know it off the top of my head. but it could be, oh, here it is. So if you want to, so if you pull up down this arrow, you have lists of static colors if you want that, or you can go to expression, and that's gonna be the bottom one. And then you can determine through conditional logic what your criteria is. So for example, they're under program flow, the IIF statement, the immediate if statement, something where you can have something like if A equals B, we're going to do black. Otherwise, that statement's false, we're going to do blue. It's something along those lines. But yes, you can do that.
Perfect. Okay, that's all the questions that we have today.
All right, I'm going to share my other screen. Q&A, we just did the Q&A. So closing remarks, reporting that works for you. We at Encompass offer bespoke report development, most specifically for Epicor. Also through our advanced support agreements, if you're one of our Epicor advanced support customers, we do have a variety of agreements that are options for you. And one of them is what we call customization maintenance, where you can have report changes such as adding a ship to phone number for your AR invoice report. Those are covered under those agreements. And we also have a bundle called Enform, where it's a bundle of, I believe, 11 reports that provide a crisp appearance and clearer presentation of the default Epicor report styles that we've seen, specifically customer-facing ones, such as packing slip, sales order acknowledgement, invoice, quotes, customer statements, to make a good impression on your customers. They're visually appealing. They're prepackaged, so you don't have to go through either yourself or with us a long process of customizing reports. And this is Enform is basically what we've seen work for our customers out of the box. We can always edit them from there, but as you can see, this is one of the report styles for Enform. The default SSRS report from Epicor is on the left. The Enform one is on the right. So it's a lot more visually appealing and more crisp, better impression to customers and your trading partners. So if there's no final questions, I'm going to hand it back off to Ashley to close it off.
Yep, thanks, Dan. There's no other questions at this time. If you'll just transition to the next slide. And so this, thank you, Dan, you did a great job. SSRS presentation was part of our reporting series. We are doing 7 different events on reporting. And so our next one is on bartender on April 24th. We're going to discuss how bartender simplifies label creation and automation for shipping, inventory, and compliance. We're going to go over Epicor Kinetic Warehouse, the handheld tools, and how that can optimize barcode usage. And then a step-by-step for mini project plan for implementing a labeling system that can help with workflows, label templates, automating printing and training users. So you should have received an email for that. If not, you can scan the code here on the screen and go ahead and register for that event. And then Dan was mentioning BAQs. That's going to be on May 29th. So registration will be available for that soon. So be on the lookout for that webinar as well. And you can find the full webinar series on our events tab on our website at www.encompass-inc.com. And then Dan, if we please go to the next slide. I know that was a lot of information today, but if you have any additional questions after this event, you can contact us at sales@encompass-inc.com. If you're a client, you can reach out to your CAM. We'd love to give you a personalized demo of this tool, or if you need help with SSRS or have additional questions, please reach out to us. We would love to answer those for you. We will also provide the YouTube link in the follow-up email along with the recording of today's webinar. And I think that's it. And we appreciate everyone being here today, and we will see all of you next time. Dan, just before we do leave though, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, there's nothing else I have to mention.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you again, and we look forward to having you at our next event.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.